And here we are once again live at 7:01 Eastern Time, the Joe and Joe Weather Show, right here on the Joe Chaffee YouTube channel. Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody had a nice day. And Joe, it really was nice today. It didn't get out of the 70s here. It was a nice breeze coming in from off the water. And I noticed that temperatures, even in inland spots, had a bit of a tough time today, for the most part.
79 degrees here at exactly 2 o'clock this afternoon. A lot of clouds, then some sunshine, then some clouds and some sun. For a while, it looked like it was going to rain, and my wife pointed out that there was a thin line of showers over near State College. But I said, nah, I don't think that's going to have any influence on our weather, and it looks like it's not, at least for the moment.
And here it was bright and sunny virtually all day. There were a few patchy clouds here and there, but it was mostly sunny. Even now, there's still hardly any clouds around. So, hoping to get a another shot at Comet Neowise. I'm 0 for 2 so far. I'm going to try it one more time. Now, Greg Carriga, who's occasionally on here, and I talk to him on Facebook on most days, asked me to ask you a question, and that is, in terms of the viewing, when you're viewing, say, at an angle of about 20 degrees, how do you figure that out? I mean, you just don't whip out
Your
a protractor and
your
lift
your
up. What?
fist, your clenched fist is your sextant, so to speak, or your angle uh, uh, maker in the sky. You just make a clenched fist, hold it out at arm's length, like so. The bottom of your fist, it's 10 degrees wide on average for most people. Now, for example, if you were Andre the Giant, I'm sure the fist would be a lot larger than 10 degrees. But for most of us, 10 degrees or so. So you take that bottom of your fist, put it on the horizon. The top part of your fist is 10 degrees. And right now, I think that the comet is roughly at about 9:30 in the evening, roughly about 10 or 12 degrees high. So all you need to do is to look toward the northwest, take that fist, put it down on the horizon, and look above the top of your fist, and you should be able to see the comet. Although, again, as I've been stressing, Joe, this is not going to be it's not gonna hit your eye like this. It is a ghostly, fuzzy kind of an appendage in the sky. An airplane contrail, and then turn the in the evening. You've seen that in the evening sky, these bright white contrails. Well, if you diminish the brightness of that white by a factor of, let's say, 10, and make it just a dim, wispy contrail, that's pretty much what the comet looks like right now. Again, it's more inclined to impress you if you have binoculars. 7 power binoculars will certainly make it stand out more. And big binoculars with like 15 or 20 power or 25, like I have, or a small telescope will really make it stand out and make it look impressive. But to the unaided eye, it's just a wispy trail up in the sky. But we don't get comets as bright as this too often, so it's well worth your while if you have a clear sky tonight or in the coming nights to go out and take a look.
Right, because another week or so, then we won't be able to see it.
Well, you will be able to still see it. The only thing is that from now till Sunday, is it Sunday? No, I think Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. Till Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, the Earth is moving toward the comet as the comet is moving away from the sun. So that movement of the Earth coming closer to the comet kind of compensates for the movement of the comet away from the sun, because as it moves away from the sun, it begins to dim. We come closer to it, so that kind of balances things out. So it doesn't dim or become fainter quite as quickly. But after next Wednesday, then it's not only going to be moving away from the sun, but it's going to be moving away from us. And that's when the dimming or the diminution of its light will be more rapid. So you still have a few nights to try and look for it. And it is, as I said, if you've been seeing the images posted on the internet, some of these long exposure
Right.
uh, photos have really showed it to be a really remarkable thing. But again, don't
It'd be
get your
nice
hope.
if that's how it actually looked when you looked
Correct.
for it.
Correct. This is about 10 times smaller, for example, than the Hale Bopp comet of 1997. If this were Hale Bopp, there's no question that you could just step outside and, oh my goodness, look, there it is in the sky. But no, it's not going to be that way. It's going to be you're going to go outside, look to the northwest, and say, "Oh, wait a minute, yeah, that there it is. That's I think I see it. Yeah, let me get the binoculars. Oh yeah,
And go
it's
someplace
there.
where there's no street lights.
Oh yeah, that's the other concern is that people who live in brightly lit cities or towns, you're not going to have that much of a chance. You really have to get to a place where it's not quite so bright. A nice dark area. The fewer the lights, the better your chances of seeing it, and the darker your sky will be. Up here where I live, I used to live. I knew it was time for me to leave Levittown. Me being the big astronomy freak, it was time for me to leave Levittown in 2002 when the Walmart um, uh, was built a couple of blocks from my house, and with the big floodlights and everything else,
Oh,
and
you were shot.
and I couldn't see all seven stars in the Big Dipper. And I told my wife, I said, it's time to go. And here, at least I have a chance of seeing a bit more stars than I would have if I stayed in Nassau County. Nothing against Nassau County, but if you're into stars and into nature,
Yeah, it's hard.
uh,
It's harder now, even in Suffolk County, because when I first moved out here back 30 some odd years ago, there were no street lights, so it was great.
right,
But then over time, that disappeared,
that's changed.
and then even places that you never thought were going to get street lights have gotten street lights. So anyhow, let's also let's wish a happy birthday to Timothy Veltman, who
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to
you,
you.
happy
Happy
birthday
birthday to
to
you.
you.
Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday, Timothy Veltman.
happy
Happy birthday
birthday
to
to
you.
you.
Oh, good Lord, you're
Now,
out of.
let me ask Tim.
I
Tim, if
stayed
you're
in
watching
key.
right
You
now,
didn't.
Tim, if you're watching right now, would Andy Gregorio or Bob Kovacic sing "Happy Birthday" to you? Would they? No. We do though, and we're not even in your viewing area. We're not up in the Capitol
That's
district,
correct. That's correct.
and you didn't have to
Um,
pay anything for this.
uh, yes, and also want to say thanks to Robert Russo, who was the first tonight to hit super chat. Thank you, Robert, very much. Joe and I both appreciate it. David Schwartz points out that Hale Bopp, that was the one that the cult leader claimed that there was a spaceship behind it, and
Right.
when that didn't happen, they used cognitive dissonance to go to the next step, which was to decide that they had to leave their earthly bodies behind, which apparently they did. So,
There was a guy in the overnight hours on radio. I think his name was Art Bell,
oh, I'm sure I remember Art Bell.
and he was like he wasn't in charge of this, but he was on the air and talking to these people and fanning the flames, so to speak, of the belief that there was some kind of a UFO hiding behind the Hale-Bopp comet, which of course is an absurdity. Quite frankly, Joe, I'm surprised that with Neowise in the sky and with so many of these great pictures, I'm surprised that the mainstream media hasn't made more out of this or even tried to attach some of the ancient, and I do want to stress ancient beliefs about what comets meant.
Well, it's wall to wall
Tried to,
coronavirus. Yeah, it's that's all they're doing. So it's hard to do any other news or anything creative or
right,
anything different.
right.
It's just the way it is right now. But
Tournament of Roses parade was canceled. So we're off and running now for 2021 for people who are saying, "Well, don't worry about it." Like for example, with me, my son a couple of weeks ago was married. We had a big to do planned out in Eastern Long Island. The caterer and the whole bit, all canceled. I mean, they got married, but it's all canceled. And they said, "Well, don't worry about it. We'll have next year. It'll be different." Really, already the first major event of 2021 has been put on the shelf, and I'll tell you what, I'm beginning to get more and more concerned that there are going to be a lot of other things that are going to be uh, postponed or canceled in 2021 if we don't find a way to figure to shut this thing down in the coming days and
well,
weeks.
either way, to some of the science stuff that I've been reading about it, uh, I've been following Dr. Scott Gottlieb, who's the former head of the FDA, and he's been spot on just about everything with this going forward. And he's been saying that uh, by January, this will all have played itself out.
I hope so.
You
I
know, by that
honestly,
time, it's enough. There
I
would be some
really,
sort of herd immunity, and the virus will just
you know,
disappear.
and Joe, it's gotten to the point now where I can't even put on my Facebook page a simple commentary about a well-loved and delightful situation comedy that's been on the air and syndication now for 50 plus years. I can't even put a comment about that without people charging at me and saying, "How dare you post a political statement on your Facebook page?" Did
Well, it
you
is
see it?
your Facebook page, but I'm just kind of curious. I'm thinking you posted something about the honeymooners, and it was.
No, it was about Gilligan's Island. I
Oh,
just
I did
posted it.
see. Yeah, you know, light people have to lighten up. Enough. Seriously, enough. Lighten up.
I mean, it
For
had nothing
God's
to do. It
sake.
had no political
No,
connotation.
but
It
it
had
had to imply. I saw that somebody said something about the fact that just general implications about the fact that the science, the
one of
professor
these.
did not.
By the way, one of these robocalls.
Oh, please, yeah.
You know, I don't know about we didn't get this when we were really deep into the pandemic, but now I'm just getting these. Like, are you getting these too? These
Yeah,
crazy.
Mike. I
These,
just I just bought a new I just bought a new truck. Okay, I just got a new truck. Okay, it's not even a month old, and I'm getting phone calls. The next day, I got phone calls saying that my car warranty was expiring. It's like, go away, just go away. David Carter, don't go away. Thanks for hitting super chat. We really appreciate it. So let's move on to some weather here tonight. We
Are we going to talk
are,
about weather?
yeah. So this
Well,
is
we'll have to wait until tomorrow to hear about your complaint about somebody parking right next to you in an
this is
empty park.
that's the third time in 4 days, Joe. 3 times in 4 days in three different places. I parked the car. I parked where there was nobody around me in a mostly empty parking lot, and when I came back, it was still a mostly empty parking lot, except either they parked next to me or around me. And it's just beyond. This happens to me all the time.
Bizarre.
Yeah, well, I guess it's herd mentality.
Yes.
So this weekend is this weekend is the 18th. Tomorrow's the 17th, so Saturday's the 18th and 19th. So we're going into this next 3 weeks is where climatologically the average highs and average lows peak. So
Right.
basically, it's the hottest period of the summer, and most years, but not all, most years the temperatures, the weather coincides with that. There are years where it doesn't, but this year at least it is, at least starting this weekend, because it does look like we're going to have um, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And I think Sunday and Monday will be the two hottest days. Maybe Sunday will turn out to be the hottest of the four. But this looks like we're going to have a solid stretch of 90-degree weather. Not a whole lot when it comes to showers and thunderstorms around. I think they'll be few and far between, at least in our neck of the woods. And, well, I think
You knew that
Saturday's.
was going to. You
Uh,
knew that was going to happen as soon as as soon as I got my son to climb the mast and get the rain
oh,
gauge
yeah.
adjusted. As soon as
Well,
I said that, that's it. It's like a turning the rain gauge, the rain off for testing the rain gauge.
correct. Saturday, you mentioned this yesterday, and I agree with you. Saturday looks like the humidity actually will be relatively reasonable, or moderate at worst, and then the humidity shoots up Sunday and Monday.
Well, the one thing that you rarely see these days is the Storm Prediction Center not broad brushing or covering an area here in the Northeast with the threat of any kind of thunderstorms. And on Saturday, much of the Northeast has no risk of general thunderstorm coverage at all. So they must be thinking the same thing that you and I are thinking, that dew point temperatures will be low enough so that we don't even have to worry about the renegade pop-up storm on Saturday. We're just going to sit and get hot.
Yes. pretty much. And Steve Lapointe just hit super chat tonight. Thanks, Steve, very much. By the way, I just want to apologize again for last night. The internet just blew. It just went, and it was gone here for about an hour. So I couldn't restart the show or even. So most times I can reconnect when I get these little shots where I lose the signal, but couldn't do it
Yeah.
last night.
It might be he likes my T-shirt. He says I'm rocking some solar eclipse T-shirt. So just for all of you to see, this is the total eclipse of the sun that occurred in August of 1999. It started right off of Nova Scotia, and Joe, I actually convinced or coerced a cruise ship company that ran whale watching cruises out of New York up to Nova Scotia and Newfoundland to change their itinerary slightly so that we would be in the position to see the total eclipse in 1999. And as you are well aware, that's what I tend to do. I tend to go to airlines and cruise lines and whatever and say, hey, there's going to be an eclipse of the sun. Do you need somebody to help you divert your ship or your plane into the eclipse path? And
Hey, it's whatever works.
it hasn't worked all the time, but it has worked on a few occasions. And this was one of those occasions in 1999. So, all right.
So let's roll here. We have. I'm going to bring the radar up first because we actually do have some showers and storms on it in upstate New York and in western New York. We have a severe thunderstorm watch box up. I'll show you that in a second. The showers, Joe, you were mentioning are falling apart as they move across northeastern Pennsylvania and head into the Catskills. They look pretty weak, so you probably won't get your rain gauge tested with that. There's some showers in southern PA, near Harrisburg now, down into western Maryland, and those are moving east. Those will start to fade as we head into nighttime, and then we have these heavy these showers and storms, some heavy rains. North central New York has been extremely dry, so these shots of rain coming today welcomed there for sure. And there are some strong storms that are now east of Buffalo and moving eastward through upstate New York and in northwestern Pennsylvania. But this is about as active a radar as you're probably going to see over the next few days. Is just some scattered pop-ups in the rest of the Mid-Atlantic, the Southeast, and Florida. Bigger complex there in central Louisiana that's moving westward. Little shower and storm activity, western Tennessee, parts of Kentucky, also back over in parts of the western lakes. Seeing a fair amount of shower and storm activity to this in the southwest, in Utah, across Colorado, New Mexico, and back into Arizona. So a little bit of monsoon action going on there, I believe, and some showers and storms up in northeastern parts of northeastern California near the Nevada line. So it's a summery night. You would expect this sort of thing. We don't have any tropical systems of consequence to worry about for the next 5 days or so, or maybe even longer than that. In the meantime, I'm just going to let me bring up really quick the U.S. satellite loop, and we'll take a look at that.
And these showers and these showers and thunderstorms, by the way, are being caused primarily by an approaching a storm system that's near Detroit, a warm front that is extending out into west or southwestern Pennsylvania and western New York.
Well, here's your surface map so that you can go ahead. I got the surface map up now.
Yeah, and again, low near in the lower peninsula of Michigan. The cold front that eventually is going to move through here tomorrow night is draped across Ohio right now, and the warm sector, I suppose that's where the highest dew points are at this moment in time, covering eastern Ohio, southwestern Pennsylvania, West Virginia. That's where we're seeing a dose of some heavier shower activity. And all of this is going to slowly but surely creep in our direction. And while we're not going to be, in line for any severe weather, I don't think tomorrow, Joe, there's a chance we'll start off with, I think, some showers early from the warm front. And then late in the day, maybe a thunderstorm with the cold front. And that cold front, not the greatest front in the world, but at least it'll dry things out and put a bit of a dent in the dew points. But it's also going to be hot, again, as you just pointed out, for Saturday, Sunday, and on into early next week.
Yeah, the heat right now, in terms of the 90s, there's nothing really exceptional about some of these temperatures in the southeast and through the Gulf states. It's pretty much typical stuff. for July. You start to get into the 100+ readings, though, when you get back into Texas. There's a fairly large, robust area of 100-degree high temperatures at 5 o'clock our time, 4 o'clock their time. Dew points, at least from where I'm seeing these hundreds, are down in the low and mid 50s. So it's technically, quote unquote, a dry heat.
A dry heat.
Yeah. As far as the severe weather is concerned, as we said, there's a working severe thunderstorm watch up right now in western New York, western Pennsylvania, eastern Ohio. You can see where the risk areas are today, this evening. Now, for tomorrow, we do have an area of enhanced risk up in the Dakotas and parts of Minnesota. But other than general thunderstorm activity, the rest of the country is just going just moving right along. On Saturday, we move this area to a little bit further to the east, covering Minnesota and into Wisconsin and the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Marginal to slight risk there. And I'm guessing, I'll bring it up, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to probably see nothing of consequence here on the day 4 through day 8 time frame. It's all predictability too low, which, as I've said many times, means we'll just wait till we have no idea. So we'll wait till we get to day 3 to figure it out. But I'm not really seeing anything that looks particularly ominous. I did bring up, by the way, this is the HRRR off SPC site because I wanted to bring up the temperature map for tomorrow. I used it as the cover for tonight's live stream, and you can see the extent of the 90s for tomorrow from Virginia down across the Gulf states. Again, this is not unusual. And where there's probably clouds and some showers or a little bit of a breeze off the water, you see some 80s. Meanwhile, here in the Northeast, we are going to have one more day where temperatures are going to stay pretty much in the 80s before they start to rise. But you can see where the hundreds are in parts of north and northwest Texas and western Oklahoma and even into southernmost Kansas, and also in the southwest. Not see one of the things about this summer so far, Joe. We're not really seeing any kind of what I would describe as a building heat wave over part of the country that just sort of gets bigger and bigger and spreads out. What we're seeing to me looks more typical for an average July. Nothing is really. We had that heat back in June up in northern New England when the weather was upside down along the East Coast, but this is just really to me setting up like a typical mid-July summer weekend.
It's not like the old days where I know that we remember growing up, especially in the 70s and in the 80s, that, you're right. We don't have a protracted spell of, or a long-term spell of many days of heat and humidity. And then you finally, after day 6 or 7 or 8, everybody starts rejoicing because the TV weather guy or the guy on the radio or the gal on the radio says, "Oh, we do see a strong cold front heading our way, and things are about to break." We haven't been into that type of pattern. This pattern that we're looking at may last, I guess, we'll make 4 consecutive 90-degree days here starting on Saturday. But then I think that'll come to an end. I think Wednesday and Thursday, there are signs we'll be seeing maybe not necessarily a cooler weather pattern, but a less hot and less humid weather pattern shaping up to the latter part of next week.
There might be a nice humidity break later next week. Still the same upper air here, folks. We've got that northern part of the jet stream running along the border states across the U.S. And of course, this east-west high that extends all the way out across the Atlantic, by the way. And you have this big upper high. I refer to it as a flat high because it's not pushed all the way up into the northern part of the U.S. or into southern Canada. It just kind of lays there. And as we go forward through next week, again, with that northern jet, you got to watch for whether there'll be some short waves that'll try to come through. And of course, there's nothing to consequence really over the weekend. We do have a fairly strong short wave coming for later Wednesday into Wednesday night in that flow. And as Joe, as you mentioned, this probably, assuming that it has a little bit of amplitude to it, which is what it seems to have, that we could get a nice break after the middle part of next week once that upper trough goes by. And then there's another one that seems to follow that for next weekend. That actually drops an upper low down into the mid-Atlantic states, if you want to believe it. But
Right.
that was on the old run. Let me just take a look at the new run just to see if it decides to take us on a different path. And there's your shortwave for Wednesday, kind of a little tight little upper low. It's actually probably, yeah, it's still there. Comes through here, later next week for the second half. There we go. And sorry, let me get my little ink thing. There's your shortwave trough. This is Friday afternoon trough off the west coast. Your flat ridge is a little weaker by the time we get to the end of the week. That's one of the things that these short waves do, by the way. They attack the ridge and they kind of flatten it out. And if a trough is deep enough, you could get into a decent shot of reasonable air for this time of year. And of course, going longer term, after that pulls out, the ridge tries to pop back up, but doesn't have as much success. And then you have more activity. This northern jet seems to want to get more active as we get toward the end of the month. And the last day on the long range now, Joe, is August 1st. So we are rolling right along.
Well, yeah, before you know it, we'll be seeing the first frost advisory being posted.
Yeah, well, let's not rush things. Got to wait for that yet.
Don't want
so
to
let's
rush.
look at the weather. I'll bring up the temperatures across the country since that's really the prime story here. Of course, if it wants to load. So here we are for tomorrow. You see the 90s in that darker purple, and in the brighter purple, you get to the hundreds back through Texas and in the Southwest. Now, this is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because the GFS goes every 6 hours. So I'm just going to jump to that time frame. This is on Saturday. You start to see the 90s push up. And by the way, just want to point out, those of you who are in, say, upstate New York and up into northern New England, this is not going to be that hot for you. Sunday's going to be the one day where temperatures could get very warm, but the 90s are going to be mainly confined to the coastal plain. So if you go far enough up into upstate and into western New York or western Pennsylvania, you're going to have, it'll be a little easier to take. Temperatures are going to be cooler through all of this, relatively speaking. Monday, another hot day right along the immediate coast, but you can see it's more like low and mid 80s when you go well up to the north. And of course, you see the 90s across the southern states and back through Texas. Here's Tuesday, still hot. Wednesday, still got the 90 degree. Then Wednesday, we've got a weather front that's going to come through with that second short wave. And even the GFS still has 90 degrees up near New York City on Thursday. But if it comes with a humidity break, we'll take it. And then by the time we get to Friday, it's back into the 80s and has even 70s across northern New England, upstate New York, and back across the Great Lakes. So that's what that short wave is going to do. And the other thing is, I guess one other thing to look at, since we really don't have too much to whoops, it just disappeared on me. There you go.
I'm still here.
No, you are. No, I minimized the screen. I fixed that error. But just running back along the surface here. So tomorrow, a couple of pop-ups tomorrow, Joe. I think that's it. Saturday doesn't look like much of anything. Sunday doesn't look like much of anything. Monday, maybe there's a dying little front that tries to go by Monday morning, but those storms all fall apart. So we'll have to probably wait to maybe Wednesday before we get into any kind of showers and storms, and then a stronger front coming through on Thursday. And there's your high, that 1020 high over James Bay is your relief.
I'm just looking here. My printer. Now I didn't ask for this, but my HP printer just went through. What are they saying here? The most current printer update has now been installed. Well, thank you. I didn't even ask for it, but I got it anyway.
So we're back up full screen here. Let me just bring. I can see the chat board here. So Johnny Quest asked this question tonight, and he asked when a hurricane's top wind is reported at, let's say, 145 miles an hour. That's the number he used in his question. Is that the surface wind or is that the flight level wind? Well, here's how I'm going to answer that. So on the advisory, the wind that they put on the advisory as the maximum wind is adjusted. I forgot what they knock off. I don't know if it's 10% of what the flight level wind is. So if it's 145 miles an hour at the on their surface uh, wind that you see on an advisory, it's quite likely that the plane found winds in excess of 145 miles an hour on the advisory. It's quite likely that they found at least 140 knots on the flight level. You know, they
Yeah, no,
they 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 play around with it a little bit. So the number on the advisory is what the Hurricane Center's forecasters actually think the surface wind is, but the flight level winds are usually higher. So
would you, if you were given the opportunity to fly in one of those Hurricane
no,
Hunter aircraft into a,
no,
no, you would not.
no,
Okay.
no.
I was just interested to know. That's, some people I've spoken to in our business say they would give their right arm to get on that plane to fly it. I remember a Nova episode when they were on board the one of the Hurricane Hunters that flew into Hurricane Gilbert, which was at the time I think one of the most intense Atlantic hurricanes that had ever been measured. And when they were telling the pilot that they were planning to fly into that storm, the pilot looked like he was not too happy or not too pleased to do that,
No,
considering.
it's I'll leave that for the youngins. Maybe if that question was thrown to me, if I were 25 now, and when you're 25, you think you're going to live forever. Uh, so if I was asked that question, and if I were 25 years old at this juncture, which I am not, I might have a different answer. But no, I wouldn't do that now. Not a chance.
I was just curious. That's all.
Would you?
No. Hey, you're looking at a guy who's never been on the Dragon coaster at Rye Playland because
Oh, I don't do. Yeah, no, I
hey,
don't do roller coasters. I don't do any of that stuff.
can you
I,
imagine if we were in a, because I've seen on television where they told the reporter, get on that get on that
no,
roller coaster and give us an idea of what it's like, or you know, get on that boat and go all the way out to the middle of the ocean and scuba dive or jump in
no,
the water. You know,
no. If projectile vomiting were an Olympic sport, I would make my country. I would make this country proud. I'd take all the
oh,
gold medals. I,
wait a
I'm
minute,
I'm not
wait
good
a
on
minute.
boats. None of it.
I
Oh,
see, I see Mr. Blandino.
yes, Salzon. What does he say? At least we're going to be able to break the April ugly look to the sky streak that we had with July 23rd for the last 3 years. Okay, so are you telling me that it's been horrible on July 23rd for the last 3 years? I would never have known that.
I
See,
think I
Sal knows these things. This is why we like him very much, as he can tell you that the weather was miserable on any specific day.
I've told you the story. If I have, I apologize if you heard it. Many years ago, I was on radio, and the morning show host called me in advance and said, "Could you get a bunch of dates together and what the weather was like, and also what the day of the week was?" And I asked him why, and he had an autistic savant on his show that morning, and this autistic savant was able. You just asked him a date. He lived in New York all of his life.
Hmm.
Ask him a date. He would give you the day of the week, and he would also tell you what the weather was on that particular day. And it didn't matter if it was like 20, but the thing was, he would tell you instantly, like
Yeah,
this.
there's also there's a I forgot. There's the adactic memory, and then there's something. There's another one. I have a friend who has the one where he basically can memorize everything, instant memorization of everything, and he can recall all sorts of facts and minutia like you would not believe. But he can't do that type of memory. You can't do the calendar thing where
Uh-huh.
but if you have that other kind of memory, you remember everything, the day, the day of the week. You have an absolute vivid memory. It's like a file cabinet, apparently, as it's
I
been
think
described.
the basketball player Jerry Lucas
Yeah,
was
the actress, was it Mary Lou Henner?
Mary Lou Henner, I believe,
She
also had
also she has the one where it's like a file cabinet, and you can
right.
go right through and pick up have all this information. By the way, Robert Brown, who's one of our regulars here, he has flown C-130s throughout all his Air Force career. So he's been in those kind of planes that they fly into those into the storms.
Yeah, that
Robert,
P-3 Orion.
yeah, even if you were flying it, I still would say no. And so don't take that personal. It's
Oh,
just not my thing. It's just not my thing.
our mutual friend Bill Corbell, meteorologist Bill Corbell, who for many
Yes,
years
he
was at News 12,
flies.
News 12 and WOR Radio. He's a private pilot, and on more than one occasion he said, "Why don't you come on and fly with me?" And I said, "No, Bill, nothing against you. I just because he has his own plane or whatever." Meanwhile, my wife would say, I would jump at the in a moment to fly with Bill, but I don't know. There's something about just flying, especially in what I call a
Yeah.
puddle jumper. You know?
Yeah, my uncle Alfred, who's just going to turn 80 years old this year, he flies back and forth from Florida to Brookhaven over here sometimes. Um, so yeah, he loves it, but I don't.
Well,
Christinapedia, it's not photographic memory describes it, but it's not. There's a scientific name for it, and being that I don't have that kind of memory, I don't remember what the scientific name for it is, unfortunately.
I
Uh,
think I think last year on the 20th of July, we were in the throes of a significant spell of very hot weather, like temperatures in the mid 90s, heat indices at like 105, 110, something like that. The only reason why I remember that is that it coincided with the 50th anniversary of the first moon landing. So that was last year. This is this year. Then I guess we're pretty close to that date. What's today? Today is the 16th. So um, yeah, so we're close to that in the calendar from last year with the extreme heat. We're going to have the extreme heat again this year.
all right, so let's see. Let me bring up. They changed my Facebook now. Finally, you mentioned the other day that they changed yours. They changed mine, and so I'm getting used to where everything is. So here we go. Let's do a little Briller Jeopardy here. Mr. Briller is out doing his COVID runs tonight. We wish him well and stay safe. So, question one: what planet has the biggest ocean?
The biggest ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness! I've couldn't be Jupiter, couldn't be
Yes, it
Saturn.
is Jupiter.
It is Jupiter. How can
Yes,
Jupiter have an ocean? Jupiter is just one big blob of gas.
maybe it's a
There's no
gassy
solid
ocean.
surface. The gassy. Well, all right.
This is according to, by the way, the Jupiter Herald.
Oh,
So,
okay.
all right. So, and I assume that's Jupiter, Florida, but I don't know. Question two: what tropical system since 1970? What tropical system dropped the most rain in New York City Central Park?
I would. I'm not. I would guess I would say it's either Floyd or Irene. Uh, I'll say Irene.
Irene is correct. So you're 2 for 2. Now let's see if you can get this third one tonight. Is what are the only two countries flags that have the color purple on them?
The color purple. Hmm. I don't know. I'll take two countries off the top of my head: Lithuania and the Republic of the Congo.
Nope, Nicaragua and Dominica or Dominica.
Oh, okay.
All right. So those are tonight's questions. I will save last night's questions, uh, which are still here. So I'll save those.
For Sunday.
Yeah, we'll save them for Sunday.
I have your questions. They were actually for Wednesday, which was yesterday. Question one was, which state flower is the pine cone, which in reality is not a flower?
Which state is the pine cone?
Which state flower is
It's
the
the
pine
pine
cone?
cone. So I think you know you could I if I'm gonna logically figure this out. Um, there are a number of states where I could go with this. I'm gonna just take a shot and say Oregon.
Well, it's not. It's Maine.
All right, that was one. You know, I thought maybe it would be in the upper one of the upper coasts. So
Mhm.
okay, so I was just on the wrong side of the country.
And
Okay,
what is the largest county, not parish? Although if we were doing parishes, I'm sure you'd know because you were down there for a while. But what is the largest county in the United States?
largest in terms of what population, or largest in terms of square miles?
He doesn't say. He just says, what is the largest county in the United
I you know what I have no. If it's going to be square miles, I'm going to guess that it would be somewhere in the state of Wyoming.
That would make sense, but it's San Bernardino, California. But again, we don't know in terms of square
That's got to be,
uh,
if it's San Bernardino, it's got to be
population.
population then.
Population,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, it's got to be population.
And
Um,
what are the only two states that do not observe daylight saving time?
uh, Parts of Indiana and
That
parts of
that used to be
Arizona.
true. That used to be true, Joe, but it's not anymore.
Well, parts of Arizona, right?
Arizona, and there's one other state.
But not Indiana. Not they stopped. There used to be parts of Indiana and Arizona. I'm going to say also parts of. I'm trying to remember if the Florida Panhandle, do they just leave it alone and then they go to Eastern time for one part of the year and Central time for the other? I forget. Um, I don't know. Uh,
Hawaii.
Hawaii,
Hawaii. So,
right? Because they don't
uh,
need an extra hour of sun there. They get plenty, and you know when you're there,
but
you make sure you catch every ray. So they
I
don't need to extend the hour. You want to get up early when you're in Hawaii. You want to get
but Indiana
outside.
Indiana now does um, observe daylight saving time, which means you could be in a part of Indiana because I think they're still on Eastern time. In one, if you slice it, um, a part of Indiana is in Central time and the other part is in Eastern time.
Right. So
I
if
get
you
it mixed up
cross,
with
say, with some places didn't. They just basically stayed where they are and made everybody else change. You know, just get rid of it already. Enough. Get rid of it.
I
Who
hear that
need?
Massachusetts is it Massachusetts or one of the New England states wants to go to Atlantic Standard Time and
Well,
leave
you know,
Eastern.
all that conversation. Thankfully, that was a lot. That conversation was going on quite a bit before all this coronavirus stuff. So if there was one plus, if you want to look at it that way, at least they stopped talking about whether they were going to go to daylight saving time permanently or switching to Atlantic Standard Time or whatever it was they were going to do. Yeah, it would have
True.
been odd. I think like they were talking about doing it in Connecticut, that they were going to change to Atlantic Standard
They
Time,
can't
and
they
it's like,
can't do something like that though. I mean,
you know.
it's it's ridiculous. I mean, like I'm going to drive. There's that one little spot. I get a chuckle out of this. Interstate 684 when you're going north up through Westchester, northern Westchester County. There's one little spot for about 1 mile that goes into Connecticut. You see a sign on 684, "Welcome to Connecticut," and like a minute later, you see another sign
Oh,
saying,
right,
"You are
that
now
goes to that one spot. Yeah. Well, that's like when you go to you drive through Delaware. You know, you welcome to Delaware, the first state, right?
right."
Welcome to Delaware. You pay the toll. You pay the toll coming off the bridge. Then you pay a $4 toll after another $4 toll after that. And then the next sign you see, you know, there's the welcome center, so you can pick up some food. You pay the second toll, and then the next sign you see is, welcome to you're now leaving Delaware. Welcome to Maryland,
Yes, yes.
where we hide speed cameras all along the highway and get you if you go 1 mile an hour over 65. I'm exaggerating,
It's yeah, but only slightly.
only slightly. All right. So, oh, by the way, I got my hair done.
You did?
I actually, Dave Catteridge, my regular haircut guy, who I have a very sacred relationship with. You have to always make sure you're your hair guy, your colorist. You got to make sure those relationships are ones that you have to make sure they last. But this is my first act. I've been buzzing it, but this is my first haircut with Dave since back in February, and it felt really good. He trimmed my goatee, he trimmed my mustache a little bit, cut the hair out of my nose, got rid of the hair around my ears, all the stuff that matters when you get old. Er, er.
Hey, in about 17 days, my birthday's coming up, and I know that all I'm going to be hearing on that day is that Beatles song.
Which one?
I don't even know I'll have to look up what the title is or whatever. Tom Hanks was talking about this because he turned the same age as I will.
Oh, when I'm 64.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to be hearing that for.
Well, I'll be here to sing "We Are Friends of the Friendless." We are friends of the friendless. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
I really wanted to throw out and possibly see if this could be done, but it looks like with the coronavirus, it's not going to happen this year. But we've got so many people who come every night to our show, and I wanted to see if we could figure out a place where we could all meet, let's say on a Saturday or Sunday, and just have like a mass barbecue or a picnic or something like that, and just meet and greet and talk to all these people who come with us every night. But with the current situation, I doubt that that's going to be doable, at least for the immediate future.
We will, Robert Brown's right. We should go to Zulu time. You are absolutely correct. That would solve all our problem. I would seriously. They should just go to Greenwich time, and that would be that. And there are proposals. There are some people who are strong proponents of that, and I support it.
We're gonna be like China. China only has one
time zone. Exactly.
Can you believe that?
Exactly. So anyhow, let's call it a night. All right, folks. No show tomorrow night because it's a Friday going into a weekend, a summer weekend. So we'll be back Sunday morning at 11 o'clock, and that'll be the hot day. So you'll want to be watching the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Okay. So everybody have a great Friday and a great start to your weekend. We'll see you on Sunday. Joe, I will see you on Sunday.
We'll be here.
All right. Night, everybody. And thanks again for those of you who hit Super Chat tonight. Thank you very much. Good night, everybody.